In the fitness world, it's consistency over perfection, because if you strive for perfection, it's impossible. You're going to catch a cold. You're going to have to go to the doctor one day with your kid and you're not going to be able to get your workout in. Those things happen. As long as you're consistent, then you're doing the right thing. So I think a lot of people think that it's like every day, 2 hours in the gym, hour of cardio, or 6 hours cardio per week. But I stress to my clients so much, it's consistency is going to win every time.
Guys, super excited today. It's not often you actually get a chance to talk to I'm calling him a world breaker. He's been through a lot. He's developed a lot, and now he helps a lot of people do a lot of great things. And here to talk more about that is the one and only Steve Hawk. Dude, what's going on, man?
How are you, brother? How are you?
Dude, I'm good, man. I'm excited to talk to you. It's we've been, I guess, Instagram following each other for a while now, and I've always loved the content. I've always loved watching the transformations you're getting in a lot of your clients. And I don't think many people know much about maybe the backstory of why you became so successful in this kind of this training slash redesigning the fitness world. As is what I'm seeing. I'm literally seeing a whole new level of creative ways to basically better yourself. So how'd you discover it?
Yeah, so that's an interesting way to put it, and I really appreciate it. And congratulations to you, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So, a lot of things changed during 2020 and the pandemic. And that's kind of when I started to get very stagnant in my corporate world job that I was with for roughly 12 years. And I was, doing my day-to-day operations every day and just kind of realizing I was just bored. And I talked to a good friend of mine that I've been through preschool, kindergarten, all the schools, all the way through college with him. And I was kind of telling him, I'm bored, man. And he was, he was just kind of like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. The only thing I'm really into is fitness. And he goes, well, there you go. Do that. And I was like, yeah, here's the thing, man. Okay, so I go back to school, I get all my certifications, right? And then I'm a personal trainer, traveling like physically on the road more than you're with a client, making anywhere between $50 on the low end to $130 on the high end per hour. But how many hours can you squeeze out of that lemon per day? 2 or 3. So yeah. I was really like, gosh, how do I do this in a way that I can have as many clients as possible? And so I looked into the online training, but I wanted to take it more than that, not just online training. I wanted to incorporate online nutrition and coaching, like true coaching, right? So I'm there for my clients. I kind of joke and say 24/7, but I do tend to sleep at night. So pretty much 24.
that you got children. So
and I have children, right? So I want to be there for my clients. So within my app, I have a messaging portal where all my clients can message me at any time. They all have my cell phone number, obviously email. And people are different, right? People like to use the messaging portal. Some people like to give me a call. Some people like to text. Some people like to email. Everybody's different on how they get a hold of me. Yeah. But I wanted that kind of separates my program from, for instance, I was at a very large phone manufacturer today, and they make most of the phones out there. And they have a new fitness app that you can download, and they charge you $30 a month. Yeah. And gosh, what does that $30 get you, right? It just gets you, tells you what to do for $30 a month. There's nobody checking in on you. There's nobody to call to if you're having a bad day. There's nobody to pick you up. There's no nutrition. There's none of that. So I just kind of wanted to take it to the next level. So went back to school, got all my certifications. That obviously took a while. On the back end, while I was in school, I was kind of creating an Instagram account to kind of take temperature of the room. Hey, who would be interested in doing this? And so what I did is I picked 12 beta test people, and it was a 12-week program. I had I had two people that had to drop out. And from what I understand, for a beta test program, two people dropping out is
Yeah,
super low.
that's a very, very low attrition rate for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was happy about that. And to be quite honest with you, fast forward like 3.5 years, I still have those 10 people with me.
No. Wow.
Yeah. So
That's because your approach works. I mean, I think one of the things that I've appreciated watching just as a bystander, because obviously we're in different states and whatnot, is the immersive attention you give it. Like
yeah.
it's legitimately immersive. Like it's easy. I think it's easy sometimes for us to share as as kind of leaders in our field, content creators, if you will. It's easy for us to say, well, we're genuinely here to serve. We're genuinely want to do, like, it's easy to say, but when you can be as a bystander and outside looking in and actually look and see that it not only is he saying it, but he's been doing it long before he was ever saying it to begin with, I think is a big deal. One of the things that I wanted to hit on that I think is really important. I'm big into holistic approach, right? So mind, body, spirit, like getting all that stuff in unity, so it all is synchronized and it all operates together. I know when I was overcoming homelessness and some of the dark days that I had, I call it dark nights of the soul. You just different levels, new devils, they say. Um, the physical fitness actually got me out of my darkness a lot quicker. What have you found in working with your clients and even yourself?
Yeah. That's such a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. I went through a dark period myself. I lost my mom, my dad, and my sister all within a extremely short amount of time, all separate situations. And I remember, so my mom passed first. And the next day after the funeral, I remember laying there in bed. And I thought to myself, I could lay here all day, or I can go do something that I don't want to do and challenge that part of your brain that says, I don't want to do this, but when I do it, I'm going to feel better. And it's just a domino effect on your life.
Yeah.
Then you do the hard thing and it becomes easier, and the next hard thing, and it becomes easier. I can't tell you how many times it's sad, but clients have reached out to me and they've said, hey, my dad passed away last week. I think I need to cancel. I just don't have it in me right now. And I'll say, let's jump on a phone call like now. And well, I'll jump on a phone call and I'll say, this is the time. 2 months ago, what was you were enjoying working out. Now you need to work out. Because like you said, on a holistic level, everything is touching each other. And
Mhm.
so when you're working out and when you're releasing those endorphins, you just feel better. It just plain and simple, you just feel better. And 9 times out of 10, when I get those messages and they really kind of sit back and think, they're like, you're probably right.
Mhm.
And also let's take a week off. Let's take a week off.
Yeah.
I'll give you a rest week in your schedule. Let's take a week off. I totally understand. Or let's do some yoga, some breath work, some meditation. But fitness is so important, and it's not about looking good. It's about feeling good. Looking good is a byproduct, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of what I tell my clients. It's like looking good is a byproduct
Yeah.
of putting in the
I
dedication
mean, I
and
would
the
even
effort.
say that like looking good, feeling good, and performing well. Like I got to thinking one time, dude, I was like, what if I can't pick up, Chastity has a toddler. I guess we both have a toddler now. He's 3.5 years old. What if I got injured or something like that? Like he and I are playing all the time.
It's one of the biggest things that I send my clients messages like as a group 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm constantly stressing because my demographic is somewhat specific. So I
Mhm.
would say my average demographic is probably 32 to 35-year-old woman. I do have a lot of women, but I also have a lot in my what I call my golden era program.
Mhm.
Uh, I was very wise to use the term golden era. It's not about looking good as a grandma. It's about playing with your grandchildren.
Yeah.
It's a step down. It's about the 45-year-old guy who hasn't worked out in 20 years, who used to be the college stud
Yeah.
and hasn't picked up anything and can't play with his kids. It's functional,
Yeah.
it's functional.
What do you think that and I'm always curious because, people who are leaders in your space, there's an intangibility that's hard to express sometimes into words. And when you're trying to encourage someone to, I would say in my world, I had a herniated disc a long time ago and went through a process where I was literally trying everything under the sun to make the pain go away and all kinds of cobra venom and all kinds of like crazy wild stuff. Um, but it was the actual like physical therapy, the putting things in motion, doing the breath work, meditating, and doing those types of things that helped me ultimately rebuild kind of rebuild myself, strengthen my neck so it didn't happen again. And because so much about like working out and just nutrition and everything that goes with it is about preventing injury as much as it is about looking good and being functional, all this kind of stuff. What do you think? Because I always love this question. What do you think people get wrong or have a misunderstanding about fitness in general? Like that whole, like the whole genre.
That's a fantastic question. And I could probably list off, 10, but for time's sake, let me go with consistency matters, right? It's not about perfection. I come across so many, first of all, in this realm is a lot of type A personalities, right?
Yeah.
And people you deal with,
Mhm.
type A personalities.
Sure.
And it's a lot of times it's either all in or all out. And then, but in the fitness world, it's consistency over perfection because if you strive for perfection, it's impossible. It's impossible. You're going to catch a cold. You're going to, you're going to have to go to the doctor one day with your kid and you're not going to be able to get your workout in. Those things
Yeah.
happen. As long as you're consistent, then you're doing the right thing. So I think a lot of people think that it's like every day, 2 hours in the gym, hour of cardio, or 6 hours cardio per week. But I stress to my clients so much, it's consistency is going to win every time. You don't have to be perfect.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I tend to be a bit more of a gym rat or, an F45 kind of like burst or CrossFit style kind of. That's kind of like my genre. It's kind of where my comfort level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And if that's your thing, then that's what I tell people. Like, do what you like, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. Like this morning, I went to go hit so there's I recently sold a business, relocated to Utah from North Carolina, and there's a really nice gym here called Vasa Fitness. So Vasa has these really nice gyms, or they're big square footage, lots of equipment, lots of stuff, but they're always crazy busy. I mean, I'm talking like I have never seen a gym chain ever that is as busy as Vasa is on a consistent basis. And my normal routine is I'll get up at call it 5:36, give or take, maybe 6:30, depending on what's going on with the kids and stuff. And I'll hop in the car, I'll do my I listen to a podcast and that kind of stuff and get head into the gym. I'm typically listening to something at the gym. But every now and again I'll get there and it's crazy busy. Like I'm waiting and waiting, waiting for equipment and this kind of thing. And I find it in those moments, I'm trying to be consistent by going every day because that's also, I also feel like I also don't feel as good if I don't work out every day. Like throughout the course of the day, I don't feel as well. But I'm trying to be consistent. But then I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to come back later today because this is too busy. There's too much break time in between the different sessions of workout. So I'm going to have to go back. So in that case, if that was kind of like if I was bumping into that on a regular basis, what are some things that I could do to improve upon kind of what I'm working on so I don't lose traction? Because I'm 48 now, and I feel like I look pretty good for 48. I work
Yeah.
out and that kind
Oh,
of
you're
thing.
close to 90. Yeah. Good for you.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to keep that going. I was watching some video of some 75-year-old doing pull-ups and he's shredded and I'm sure he's on low T or testosterone supplements and stuff, but he's still like at 70 years old. Like I'd like to be performing it like that at 70.
When I went ahead and started building my platform, like I said, it was the gyms were shut down. The gyms were
Yeah,
shut.
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really built all of my programs with at home workouts in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean we can't alternate some things in that are more CrossFit-y or more F45? Of course we can. If that's
Yeah.
your thing and you don't want to get in your car, I don't know how far away you live from Bossa Gym, but some people, I have clients that live in rural Indiana or rural
Yeah.
marathon, and it's a 45-minute drive to their closest gym.
Yeah.
It's with that in mind, I really built all of my programs to be mostly like at home available. And then we can make tweaks along the way. I have a lot of people that are like, hey, I've got a full rack set up. I want to do some like Olympic style stuff. And that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I can create that. So when COVID came around, that's when I stopped going to the gym. And that's basically when I created my program for an at home workout. And to be quite honest with you, you really just need a bench. I mean, I guess you don't even really need a bench.
You just need a coffee table.
Yeah, like something flat.
Yeah.
I do say a bench because I do like to be able to adjust the height, to hit
Yeah.
different areas. But a bench, dumbbells. Dumbbells is another thing that I talk about. Now, you don't have to go out and buy 5 through 90, right? Because that's just expensive.
Yeah.
There's brands out there that make the click in.
Yeah. Bowflex is one that you can adjust.
Yeah. So I have the Bowflex click-in weights. They go up to 95 pounds. There's like 2 exercises that I actually click into the 95 pounds. Other than that, I use less than that. So that's a couple $100. You can get those from Costco for a couple $100. Like you mentioned, a pull-up bar, like the door frame pull-up bars work just as well. So, full-on cross-up pull-up bar. Really, other than that, let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you could do this we both know you can, but I'm thinking in the terms of psyche of someone they think they have to go to a gym, or they think they have to have the nice equipment, or they think they have to do this. Like what is really standing in their way for them really getting started when it sounds like you can do everything literally in the comfort of your own home or in your yard or something?
What they're used to. I've been going to the gym for 30 years and it's part of my routine. It would be my answer. Break routine for humans is about the hardest thing to ask a human to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they have a routine to say, okay, now we're going to, for instance, when I started my company, now I'm waking up and instead of working out first thing, I'm touching base with clients first thing because that's my priority. And I'm not getting my workout in until 9 after I drop off my children from school. That was so hard for me. Like I'm talking so hard for me to like mentally break through
an afternoon workout like freaks me out too. So I get it.
Exactly. Once something is like part of you, it's part of your routine. It's so hard to break it. But once you do break it and you find your new normal, and maybe that is working out from home, then that becomes your new normal and you're just used to it and you start to love that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of folks, so if everybody watching and listening right now, I want you to go, we'll make sure everything's in the show notes, but I want you to go hit up Steve's Instagram. You've had a lot of really powerful transformations with your clients.
Yeah.
Is there one that maybe sticks out in your brain or your mind that maybe was a challenging case, either mentally to get them going, or just like what are some things that some of your clients have faced that they managed to overcome?
That's a good question. So my very, very first client, the timeline, I wasn't going to go live until it was probably January, I think like 8th. And I was talking with my wife and I was like, I think I can launch January 8th. And at the time it was probably December 27th.
Yeah.
And she said, you're crazy if you don't go live.
Launch in a week. That's funny because she's type A sometimes.
Oh yeah, super exciting. And just to speak of my wife real quick, she's like the reason why I'm able to do this.
Yeah.
So supportive. Like if you don't, if you're wanting to start up your own business and you don't have that support from your spouse, I
built 3 businesses in spite of my relationship. So now that I have one that actually plays an active role, and we're building out her thing and then building out, like, it makes all the difference. It makes it fun.
It makes it fun. I'm trying secretively to the public, but I'm trying to get her full time with HawkFit. I'm trying every day. And she's like,
go. That'd be awesome.
It's your thing. Yeah. So I was able to launch December 31st. I was able to pull everything together. I mean, there was, as you've had sleepless nights.
Yeah.
In a row.
Being an entrepreneur.
Yep. That's what it takes. So I was able to go live December 31st. It was 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here.
Mm-hmm.
And my very first client was a young lady, which is about my age. So, and she was in Australia. So it was 9 a.m. New Year's Day. I think they're about
Yeah.
12 hours roughly apart. And she messaged me and gave me her, goals and her story and all
Yeah.
this. It's really ironic that she was my first client because if you go to my Instagram and you kind of sift through, there's some that are like, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. But this
Yeah.
one, you're like, holy cow. Like people are like, that's not the same person.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, but it is. But it is. Her tattoos will tell you that's the same person. So, I
Yeah.
mean, she went from, I would probably say 210 roughly. And I think we were in, which I don't make my clients do, but she weighed herself in at like 110
Oh,
a couple weeks.
wow. She lost half of herself. Wow.
And and you know what? She came to the United States this past spring, and she was able to get like a United States phone for the week, and she wanted to connect with me, so we chatted. And she's like, I struggle every day mentally with my children, with
Yeah.
work and blah blah blah. But my must do is the Hawk Fit program. If I don't do it, my day is just not the same. Kind of like you
Yeah.
said, right?
Yeah.
We've all had days where we can't make it happen, and I'm the same way. If I don't make my workout happen,
Yeah.
this is part of my career, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to work out.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
and you're innovating a space, and I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show. It's interesting. Again, you sometimes I'm compelled, and I'm sure you get compelled from time to time to like you just see someone and they're working their butt off and they're getting the results and they're doing the work and they're getting all that stuff kind of dialed in. And I'm in a unique position now where we can showcase amazing people like yourself who are doing great work in the world. I was telling someone recently, they were like, what do you want your legacy to be to me? And I was like, I want to be Steve Meyer to as many people as possible. Now, my audience has heard of Steve Meyer 1,000 times. He's my first mentor that believed in me long before I believed in myself.
Yeah, I've
And
listened.
yeah. And then I noticed that you share that same concept with the people you pour into. Like a lot of times you already see their chiseled version of themselves or their healthy version of themselves or their mindsets that are shifting, their family dynamics that are getting better. The entrepreneur that's been overwhelmed and overwhelmed and overwhelmed. And all of a sudden now they've got an outlet and now they're getting like encouraged and that overwhelm is breaking down. And for me, that's one of the reasons why like I had to have you on. Right. Then there's the actual component of you innovating a space. Like you're literally innovating a space. I think one of the most difficult things that I've seen with the health industry, I call it health and wellness industry, it is so many people try to do a one size fits all carbon copy approach for everything. Right?
Yeah, that's
Everything
kind
you
of
do is so
yeah.
individualized. How are you able to create individualized programs for individual and do so at scale? Because your business is growing like crazy.
Yeah. So you just have to listen, right? You just have to listen to what their needs and their goals and their equipment and what they want out of life and the program. And so I get reports all day. I can go on my computer. I can pull up who's doing what. I can look at who's well. I can because wearables can connect with my program, so I can
Sure.
see what people eat, and I can see who's doing the work. And as long as you're doing the work, you're going to have the benefits of feeling better, just living longer. Like I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we want to do, right? Like
And living well longer. Like
that's it.
I had that injury one time and I got a little heavier than I'd like to at that time. And because I wasn't working out, I found myself, especially in that season, I had more chronic pain in my joints. Right. And I know that came from nutrition. I was on all kinds of like pain medications from the doctors I got a love hate relationship with pharmaceuticals in general. Um, and I'm just thinking through these different things of like, it's not just living longer, it's living longer well.
Yeah.
It is enjoying the life and going out. Some of my favorite posts are you guys just hanging out with the family. Because that's what
Yeah.
I value that stuff most,
I'm happy that you said that. And I recently read something online that was like, because I don't really consider myself like a fitness influencer, maybe that's how some people see me and that's fine. But people want to see the real Steve, but
Yeah.
Steve and
Yeah.
Steve, people
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to see, like, I enjoy watching videos with your daughter. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what hits here, and connecting with people is what it's all about. Because when you
Yeah.
connect with somebody, they're gonna want to connect with you here and there and here and
Yeah.
there, and you're working together.
Yeah. I want to hit yeah, and that's one of the I think what this I'll tell you this much. I think one of the reasons why so many people are attracted to your program and you specifically, yes, they can get fantastic results with the program. 100%. I think that they also just enjoy the fact that you're a good man. You're a good dude. Like you legitimately love your family. You love your wife. You're trying to do good in the world. You're trying to serve your clients at scale. It's clear that you took some of the pain that you experienced and use it as a passionate fuel to kind of honor, all those that you loved. And like, you really kind of gone the extra mile. So I really, really appreciate that. I know there's three core segments in most fitness programs. Okay. There's nutrition. There's what I would call strength training, so workout or whatever. And then there's typically cardio. Now, we mentioned cardio a little bit earlier as being something that you had some serious thoughts on. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all three of those segments. Are they great pillar segments? Are there more segments needed? Do you need one segment more than the other, et cetera?
I did want to go back to one thing that you said previously,
Sure.
and I even texted you about it like 2 weeks ago, and I asked if you were a Zig Ziglar fan. When I used to go to the gym, and knew nothing of what I was doing, I was literally just kind of like, oh, I'll do that, and then I'll do this.
Yeah, I've
So
gotten on machines backwards before, so just putting that out there.
that looks fun. I'll do that. So
Yeah.
I looked like complete garbage, and I did not eat well. And I'm currently 3 years sober, so I was
Yeah.
drinking alcohol too much, and I was eating pizza and blah blah blah. But my point is that when I was going to the gym, I would listen to, kind of like as you mentioned, because we're too young for the real Zig, but I would go back and listen to his audiobooks. That's what I listened to in my ear when I worked out. And he always says, you can have everything in this life that you want
Mhm.
if you help enough people get what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like that, literally, like,
It's funny how that one principle, you're living out that principle now and you're seeing the benefits of it. And I would agree with you. I've always, someone asked me one time, this is years ago, and it became one of the things that I share on stage from time to time, but the purpose of life. I'm like, there's
yeah,
really three great purposes, but there's one that I like really hearken into. And to me, the greatest purpose in life you'll ever have is serving the person you used to be. Right. It's who was Steven at 7 years old, 10 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old, 18, 20, like so on and so forth. That really kind of opens up the thing. And it's built off the same principle that Zig shared. Like
absolutely.
it's built off that same thing. You're ultimately taking your greatest gifts, your greatest assets, and you're putting them in the form of service of others.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but apologize for kind of going back on that, but
Not at all.
I wanted to
Open
hit up on.
conversation, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I always kind of tell my clients you can't outwork a bad diet. So diet is kind of, and listen, I have an 80-20 rule, and I tell my clients, as long as you're not eating like an a-hole more than 20% of the time, you're going to get results. You're going to be happy. I don't call them cheat meals. I think that's a garbage term.
Yeah.
Just eat what you want on a Friday night. Just eat what you want on a Friday night. You're allowed to do that. The key is your rebound, right? So how do you wake up in the morning? Do you then go to McDonald's and just say, F the weekend, we're going to McDonald's?
Yeah.
Or do you make, some egg whites and a whole egg and, some sourdough toast and some protein? The rebound is important with the nutrition, but nutrition is probably number one. And that's what I love about my program, is that I have a full aspect of nutrition that comes with everything. So, nutrition is very important. Strength training is going to make you live a long time. It's the number one longevity tool.
It
And
increases bone density, right? Like it actually, yeah.
yeah, like listen, and it's so sad, but I had a client who messaged me probably a year ago, and she said my 85-year-old grandfather fell and broke his hip, and the first thing I thought was he's gonna be dead in a week. It's statistically, it's
Yeah.
like 80% after the age of 75, people that fall and like break a hip
Yeah.
don't make it.
That's a super painful thing to break too.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just like infection is terrible. It's just a bad process.
Yeah.
So increases bone mass, increases bone density, all that stuff. And then cardio is fantastic. I'm not knocking cardio, but cardio is great for your cardiovascular system, right? I don't like to look at cardio as this is going to make me get thin, because the best way to, people use the word tone, don't necessarily love it myself, but I know what they mean, right? Like
Yeah.
we know what tone means, so I'm not going to knock somebody for using the word tone, but
See more muscle than fat. Yeah.
that's it. That's the best way to see more muscle than fat is to put on more muscle.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I tend to say, when you're driving in your car and you see somebody running down your neighborhood, are you ever envious of that body?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that you're like, that guy's
Yeah.
rocking.
Yeah.
It's
I guess it
usually
depends on where you're at in the country.
hey, listen, Los Angeles,
Yeah.
different story. But a lot of times it's very, very, very thin people with no muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get a lot of people that are kind of starting their fitness journey. They don't know any better, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna go for a run."
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, running is great. It's going to increase your cardiovascular system, which is wonderful. But the best way to actually burn fat is to build muscle. Building muscle burns fat.
Yeah.
More than running. So, I mean, I have a bike, I get on it. I don't love it. To be honest with you, what I've been doing this summer is I've been throwing on a 40-pound weighted vest and going on walks at a bit of a faster
Like a
pace.
fast pace. Yeah.
Yeah. So staying in zone 2 cardio, which is about for the average person going to be heartbeats per minute. It's going to be about 120 to 140, depending on your age.
Yeah.
So if you stay in that zone, you're going to be burning fat at that time. When you're lifting weights, you're burning fat in your sleep because you're building.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show. Steven Scoggins here. I've got something that I think is actually going to blow your mind. Imagine taking your life and your business to the whole nother level. I'm talking about an 8-figure level and beyond. You see, you've been working your butt off to build your business to where it is now. But what if you could work smarter, free up more time, make more money and impact along the way? How much would that be worth to you? You see, I can prove that basic steps, basic mindset shifts, and subtle changes can make the biggest difference. I want to introduce you to the 8-figure mindset makeover. It's absolutely free and it's here for you. It's a powerful summary of my top strategies that help propel me from the streets, if you will, to upwards of 9 figures and quote unquote success, as we like to chase it. This is more than just tips though. It's a complete mindset overhaul with simple hacks that you can apply today to begin working on your unprecedented heights in your own business. I would like the honor to share these types of things with you that turn my dreams into reality so you can experience the same type of joy and freedom that I now get to live out in my own day. In other words, it's time for you to build your own unstoppable enterprise. And if you're really ready to take it to the next level and elevate your life and your business, this is an absolute game changer for you. So if you want to take advantage of this free resource, simply go to the show notes and click the link, or you can go to stevenscoggins.com/8-figure. That's stevenscoggins.com/8-figure. Until then, much love. God bless. Let's get back to the show. Take care.
You know, it's something else I've been recently doing too. I'm curious to get your thoughts on a couple of things. So recently, there's been a bit of a biohacking kind of thing. This stuff's been around for a while, but it's becoming cool and hype or whatever. You know, so we're looking at putting a cold plunge in the house, red light sauna in the house. Like I got this one area in our basement in this property that we're going to be adding that to. But right now, there's a place down the street that has a straight up cryo booth. So I've been in a lot of cryo, a lot of red light therapy, a lot of red light stuff, and they also have hyperbaric chambers. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on each of the three of them from your perspective on benefits and kind of like what you think.
Yeah. So my number one would be yes to Asana. They pretty much typically come with like a red light.
Like an infrared red light version. Yeah.
Yep. To be quite honest with you, I got mine off. I mean, you can get anything off Amazon. I got mine off Amazon. It was very affordable. It's basically four walls you stick together. It's got the red light, infrared, saunas to it. It gets at about 155. Me personally, I would like for it to go a little bit higher, but
Yeah.
I'm just on a 110 in my garage. So the hot sauna with the infrared light would be my number one. I do like cold plunges for recovery. And I'm not going to lie, I am not familiar with the cryotherapy.
It's basically cold plunge without getting wet. Yeah, it's 3 minutes at negative 140 degrees. So yeah, it's chilly, but you feel great afterwards.
So when you use it, is it for like recovery purposes? As like the people that work there, they tell you like,
I'll tell you the benefits I've actually felt from it. Benefit number one is it seems to break down fat cells quicker, so you get leaner quicker, or it plays a role. It's not obviously you have to do all the other things. You can't just walk into a booth for 3 minutes and call it good, right? It does seem to reduce inflammation quite a bit, which I think cold plunging does as well. And it also seems to wake up the nervous system.
Yes.
So those are the three things I've seen it do. The cold plunging portion itself, I actually have a harder time cold plunging than I do cryo. Because cryo, you're walking into a temperature controlled environment. When your time's up, you walk out, you heat up super fast. Where if I go in cold plunge, it takes me 15, 20, 30 minutes to really heat my core temperature back up to where I'm kind of comfortable. And I don't know if one's better or worse than the other, or, I don't think either one of them are really bad. It might be preference, but I was just curious kind of on the thoughts.
And like you said, this is all kind of new in this space, right?
Yeah.
We don't have hundreds of years. Well, some people might say that we do, but
Vikings, maybe.
Through Stanford, we don't necessarily have all these medical journals about these. I love my sauna for like relaxation, right? So I'm not going to do a sauna so I'll kind of do it at nighttime.
Yeah.
In the evening bed, it kind of brings you down. Like you said, for the central nervous system, when I do have a cold plunge, and I do it about 4 times a week. That will wake you up faster than anything. And to your listeners, if you don't have a cold plunge, because a myriad of reasons, take a bucket of ice cold water and just plop your face in it for 15, 20 seconds. Do that 3-4 times. You're up.
Yeah. Wow. I was just thinking too, when we first moved into this house in Utah, and Chastity and the boys came out, we actually filled, we have in the master bathroom is, it's a pretty nice bathroom, and it's got a giant garden tub, like looks fancier than what I would kind of normally do. But all we did was we filled the tub up. We bought 5 bags of ice, threw ice in it. And then I'm gonna tell you what, Chastity's tinier than I am. Like we're about the same height, but she's thinner in general. She was in that choker for like 4 minutes. I was like, you're insane. I lasted 2.5 minutes. She kicked my butt. So
there's something to be said about women and pain threshold too, though.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that, for sure.
So another, like a hack that you could also do at home for listeners, if they don't eat. So if you take a couple gallons of like an old milk jug, fill them up with water, freeze them.
Yeah.
If you've got a 1980s garage freezer like we do, stick them in your freezer. All that's in my freezer really is just milk cartons of water.
Yeah.
So we got like 4 of those that we rotate, pop them in there. Boom, You got a cold plunge.
Yeah. Geez, man. I didn't think about that one. That's a cool hack.
Yeah. Well, that way you have 5 bags of ice. You want to plunge,
It just dawned on me. We were talking about, I apologize. I sidetracked just a little bit, but we were talking a little bit about fat versus muscle. And I know one of the common things that I have seen, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, is most people don't realize that muscle weighs more than fat, which is why their weight can go up, right, on a scale, but they're actually doing better than they feel. But if they're using the scale to judge their success rate, they're actually hampering their success because of that.
How about How about a visual representation real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is a pound of muscle. This is a pound of fat, right? So the pound of fat, so this is kind of how I explain it to my clients. Because the verbiage, I think, in this space can get confusing where people are like, no, it's like, what weighs more, a pound of feathers or, a pound of bricks? And
Yeah.
let's say the same. So when people hear like muscle weighs more than fat, they're like, no, a pound of muscle weighs the same as a pound of fat. What I like to explain to my clients is we're talking volume, right? So if you were to take a Coke can, shove that Coke can full of muscle, it's going to weigh more than if you were to take a Coke can and shove fat into it. The fat is going to weigh less at the end of the day. Almost 75% of the time when I have new clients and they're on for like a month, they're like, Coach, I jumped on the scale and I'm up 3 pounds. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Your
Well, and muscle burns more calories.
muscle burns way more calories.
Like it is the great equalizer.
Yeah, it really is. So I try not to get worried about, and it's just human nature, and I totally get it. But we all want to jump on that scale and see the number according to our goal, right? What I tend to tell my clients is let's focus on the body fat percentage.
Yeah.
Right. So you can buy these scales nowadays that they're set to like your body, and you plop on them. It kind of recognizes that it's you, and it spits out your bone density, your muscle mass, pure muscle, all these, 20, 20 things. And what I say is, let's not worry about the 180 that's on the scale. Let's worry about that body fat percentage. And if you've gone down 1%, that's fantastic. Incredibly hard. And as you know, getting that body fat percentage down, it's a slow burn.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the body fat percentage too, because I found that to me, that was one of the most confusing things to even pay attention to. Like because I'm so tall, but I weigh, so I'll give you an example. I'm 5'5". I'm a short dude. I have been my entire life, can't change it. So I gave up trying. But I weigh about 170 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. Chastity is, call it 5'4" and some change. She weighs about 100 pounds, maybe 105 or something like that. I'm guessing. Her oldest son, Lonnie, he weighs about, call it 155, but he's 2 inches taller than me. But yet all three of us look super lean.
Yeah.
So it comes down to like, okay, well, so then I started trying to figure out the metrics behind, doing the calculation on body fat percentage. And to be quite honest, I kept getting confused, and I feel like the vast majority of the audience would probably say, well, the reason I haven't really focused on that is because I don't know how to compute it, to make sure it's relative.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, you can jump on Amazon and buy these scales are literally like $20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They've come a long way. They used to be a couple $100. They're literally $20 now. You jump on it, you calibrate it, and it'll pop out. You download an app.
Yeah. Okay.
So you'll get a report. You open up the app, you'll get a report on your phone, and it'll say your weight, and it's all in accordance to your age, your height, and your weight.
Yeah.
So you take all that in consideration, and then it's going to pop out your body fat percentage, and that's how I personally do it. Right? These 1,800 numbers of doing it where you're taking your age, your height, your weight, minusing it by 120, times it by 3. That can be
very confusing.
Very confusing.
to be quite honest.
Yeah. So you can just jump on these scales and it'll tell you your body fat percentage. I will say that they are accurate to about 2 to 3%. Right.
Yeah.
So as long as you're using the same scale and you're being consistent with the same scale, you should be fine.
Yeah. So you still get, because you're using the same scale and the same equipment, you get to see the deduction in the reading, basically. That's awesome.
100%.
Well,
and also, how old is her son? I mean, how old is he? Because
so Lonnie's about to be 17, and literally in probably 5 or 6 days. So his, it's easier for him right now than it was for me to kind of have the same goals and metrics. But yeah, so he's 17.
exactly where I was headed with that is that um, another thing I tell all my clients is that every body is different, right? So
Yeah.
the Hawks, my dad gave me this gene where I tend to carry any excess body fat that I have kind of like in my low back.
Uh-huh.
Like if I put on 5 pounds or so,
Yeah.
that's where
It shows up there first. Yeah.
So, women usually in the lower pouch area,
Mm-hmm.
times men in the what they call like the beer belly area and the
Yeah.
pectoral area. So
Yeah.
we all carry weight a little bit differently, and he probably carries muscle differently. You'll
Yeah.
notice a lot of men have these nice tapered backs, right? So he's probably got lats. That
Yeah.
probably
And that's
better
what
than
I've learned that, and this is something else we even talked about with that you and I think of both this, at least I discovered. If I wanted to make my waist smaller, all I had to do was make my back bigger,
yeah.
my shoulders. I actually have good sized shoulders now. So it's really interesting how you can actually use workouts to actually taper and shape and kind of create the physique that you really want. And actually, I won't say get rid of genes or get rid of certain genes, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's just different, right?
Yeah, and I don't love using genes as a crutch by any means
Yeah.
because people are like, well, those are my genes, and so that's just how it's going to be. I'll use my wife as an example, and she won't mind. So before my wife started my program, to be full transparent, she had a tummy tuck after our second child,
Uh-huh.
and so she was doing Orange Theory for like 4 years, never dropped a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, just try my program, just try my program. And within 6 months, the thigh, the thunder thighs that she called herself that she
Yeah.
had started to shrink. And she was like, I just thought those were my genes. I just thought I
Yeah.
had thunder thighs. And a year and a half after my program, which her results are also on my Instagram, her thighs are, for my liking, maybe a little bit too small, but that's okay. She like
We'll have to edit that part out. I'm just kidding.
so,
We don't want Mina mad at us.
yeah. So, it's we can't use genes as a crutch.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get past it with hard work.
Yeah. No, and I think that's important because my one of my older boys, who's 22 now, he reached out a little while ago. He was having some struggles in an area of his life. And, he's absolutely was not happy with his well-being and physique. Right. And
And
his bio dad is someone who naturally, through the quote unquote genes, is someone who naturally carries body fat and has a hard time getting rid of it and all this kind of stuff. And I kept telling him, I said, look, I hear what you're saying. I understand your, the quote unquote bio genes that you've got part of your, I said, but you can do whatever you want with your physique with the right attention to detail, or with the right attention to the right places. So what are you eating? Well, I'm eating fried this and I'm eating out all the time. I'm like, well, okay, well, stop that. Drink a lot of water, cut down the sugar, stop eating fried foods, like start eating cleaner, eat more times throughout the course of the day, keep your caloric intake higher, and then, and then
help yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he sends me a picture last week and he's down like 40 pounds. He looks phenomenal.
That's
and
crazy.
here's somebody else who said, no, it's the genes. I can't beat the genes.
That's crazy. 40 pounds is a lot to lose. And certainly he probably put on some muscle too. So that,
he's starting to look good. Like I could say, and it's funny when we can look in the mirror and like what we see. It's funny how much more confident we are. So therefore we take advantage of opportunities. We have more date nights with our spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever. We start to hang out with friends. Like we become more social as a result of just more confident.
Listen, a few months ago, so I see a grief counselor every month, and we always kind of take inventory right when we sit down. How you doing?
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? So we just got back from vacation. We go to Kiowa Island, South Carolina every June.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't eat, we cook lunch. We try to cook dinner, so lots of chicken and veggies and stuff. But I'll be darned, there's an ice cream shop pretty close. That doesn't help. I'm not necessarily pounding heavy weights there. I don't have access to a gym, so I bring bands, banded work. aren't quite the same. So I get home and I'm just like, I can promise you that I didn't look any different.
Yeah.
But up here in your brain, if you're not feeling good,
Yeah.
it's like Deion Sanders. You
Yeah.
look good, you feel good, you play good. I mean, it changes everything about you, and
Yeah.
your clothes look better. It doesn't matter the name under that suit jacket. I promise to God, it doesn't matter the name on that suit lapel.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go to Walmart, you can go to Walmart and get a suit.
Yeah.
If you're in good shape, you'll
Hmm.
look good in.
Yeah.
That's the key to looking good in a suit. It's not the name.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, in the last couple of minutes we got together, I'm curious to know if, so first of all, everybody, if you're interested in a very personalized and very professional way to get your fitness under control, mind, body, and spirit, I want to highly recommend Hawk Fitness. Steve Hawk's program is second to none. You can go to his Instagram. You can see the transformations. Again, it's one of the reasons I had to have him on the show. It's thehawkfit.com, I believe, is the website. I want you to take advantage of that. But in the meantime, while you're considering that, making that move for yourself, I also want you to take a couple moments and, Steve, if you could break down maybe the top three things that if we could focus on, let's say we haven't been in the gym, we know we need to live healthier, better lives. What are the first three things we need to do out of the gate?
Yeah. So sleep is something that people, unfortunately, I think tend to, and I see a lot of this on, like life coaching Instagram people out there, and they like take pride in this, like, I sleep 3 hours.
That's not
No,
me.
you know what I mean?
I hated my existence in early days when I was sleeping like that.
Yeah. But listen, sometimes, and when I was in school and I was still a dad and I had a career, I wasn't sleeping much, but
Yeah.
it was a very intentional situation. I was doing the best I could. But the people that are like, yeah, I just kind of dilly dally until 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I wake up at 5 or 6 or whatever, and you're getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep is nothing to be proud of.
Yeah.
Sleep, sleep is probably number one.
Yeah.
Sleep, people just sleep on, or people, people, guys, how important it is. If I don't get a good night's rest, my workout here in the gym is terrible.
Well, then you're not to mention your cortisol raises, all the things chemically in your body fight you on actually in creating a performance, like getting higher performance, dropping weight, increasing muscle. Like you have to have rest so your body can actually do the rework or putting things back together.
Have you ever looked into the schedule of like a strongman?
I haven't.
It's literally eat, lift, sleep. I mean, that's all they did. And they'll sleep in between their lifts and their eating. It's like eat, rest, work out, rest, sleep, rest. I mean, that's all they do because it's so important. It's
Yeah.
so important. Secondly, I would say you got to dial in your nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really do. Talk about it with people all the time, and they're like, "Hey, how important is nutrition?" And on my own Instagram page, if people go down, I have a picture of me when I was going to the gym 4 or 5, maybe 6 days a week.
Yeah.
But so listen, I tell my clients the weekend makes up 42% of your week.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
you're taking 42% off of something, you're
Yeah.
failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm still working out 6 days a week at minimum, sometimes 7. I had to change up what I'm working on, so I might just blast my shoulders in one day or blast my chest one day and back. And then so on, rather than doing back and buys and chest and tries and stuff like that.
So that might be my number three is whatever you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
I want to enjoy it. Right? Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're eventually going to quit.
Yeah.
If you enjoy doing what you're doing every day, I have an Uncle Jack who my son is named after. He's 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Physically looks like he's 35.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't miss a workout. And I'm not saying he's clanging weights with Arnold,
Yeah.
but he's doing something. He's
Yeah.
doing something every.
Yeah.
and he loves it. And it's part of his routine, and he likes his routine, and he likes what he does. So whatever it is that you do, make sure that you like it.
Yeah.
And I said, I've got all these programs, and we customize things so that you do like it.
Yeah.
Because the moment you start to not like it is the moment you take tomorrow off.
Yeah.
You take tomorrow off, you take the next day off.
Yeah. And you start to slow fade the opposite way, opposite of your goals and your aspirations for sure. Dude, I've enjoyed hanging out with you, man. I love everything that you're about, everything you're doing. I love the way you show up in the world and you're trying to really help people. I personally want to see nothing but massive success for Hawk Fit, and I know it's well on its way. I know it's still, yeah. Oh, dude, it's just, again, I've learned a long time ago that when you change someone's life, they tell 3 to 5 people, and then they change that life and then 3 to 5 people. It's a compounding that stands the test of time. It is truly create a legacy that outlives you. When you can help someone live 10, 15, 20 years longer than they would have if they stayed on the same journey and be with their family and their friends and people they love and do their own meaningful work. So maybe their meaningful work's not fitness. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's building, maybe it could be a number of different things, right? But it's to give someone that gift of life, I think, is one of the greatest gifts anyone could give anybody on the planet.
Yeah. And just real quick, right before we jumped on the call, I spilled my coffee and I was like, oh crap. And so I'm cleaning it up and I got a ding on my phone. It was an email and I checked it and it was a client. And she said, I've never posted progress photos on here before, but I took photos today. And I'll get choked up because she's like, you've changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, dude. I love it. Well, final question for the day. If there's one thing that's on your heart that we haven't talked about today that you feel like the world at large needs to know, what would it be?
Don't take everything so serious.
Yeah. Break it down for me.
I think so. I heard a quote a long time ago, so I always kind of botch it. But it was like, when you're 10 to 15, you're just so consumed about what everybody thinks about you.
Yep.
And then you're kind of, 20 to 25, and you're like, what do these people think about me? What are these? What's going on in their head? You're in your first real job. You're in a board meeting for the first time. You're like, what is that guy thinking about me?
Yeah.
And then today, you realize nobody's thinking about you.
Yeah, that's true.
In that way, in that regard, nobody's looking at your tie.
Yeah.
Nobody's worried about your haircut. Nobody's worried. Just don't take yourself so serious. I want you to take your life serious, and I want you to take your health serious.
Yeah.
But I want you to take every day-to-day interaction at the grocery market so serious, right?
Yeah.
I kind of have a saying, I really don't like to go into the grocery market to do our shopping, but I always tell myself right before I do it, nobody wants to be here.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Everybody's like, I got something better to do. It's funny. You just had me trigger something in my own mind. And I'm sorry if we go a minute or so over, but I just realized, because of that statement, because of that breakdown, that most of the things that we stress about, we choose to stress about them. We choose it.
Nobody cares. And the definition of anxiety is simply just worrying about the future that you can't control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So my anxiety is way down. By the way, fitness helps with that. But just not worrying about things that you can't control.
Yeah.
I can't control, let's say the weather. So I'm not going to get anxious about it.
Yeah.
I can't control what my neighbor is going to do this weekend with his yard, whether he's mowing it or not. So I don't care about it.
Yeah.
You can only care and control things that are within your power. And I know that is like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, that's really cliche. Yeah. But it's also a cliche for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Man, I love this. I can't wait to do it again. The fact that if you guys are ever in the Utah area or we're in the Indiana area, we're gonna have to go out to dinner and have some fun. I think for sure.
I'm trying to take Mina. She's turning 40 soon, so I'm looking on the map. I'm just like, where have we not been?
Well, there's some really cool places here. So it's one of the reasons I got, I was in North Carolina. I was literally on the other end of the coast when I got here, and I came out here to do a bit of a media tour a couple of years ago. Met a guy by the name of Randy Garner, who's a really good friend of mine. Just an exceptional person. In fact, I don't know anybody like him. His dad's he has a quote that he got from his dad, and his dad's still living now, but probably doesn't have a lot longer. And it says, help as many people as you can, as often as you can, with expecting nothing in return, and you'll have a beautiful life. And he lives that. And it's funny. So I come out here, I hung out with him and his family for I literally extended my trip, a couple extra days. I had a fairly hard end of 2022 in the beginning of 2023. Was trying to sell a business at the time, had a bunch of other life stuff happening that was unexpected. And so I was going to go to Scotland for a 2-week sabbatical. It's like, I'm going to go to Scotland by myself, right? Every time I have a major life shift, I always do a sabbatical. So I come out to Utah, and he puts me at this place called Sundance, not Sundance Film Festival, but there's a little resort that Robert Redford, I guess, owns about 20 minutes from the house called Sundance. And it's a ski resort during the winter. It's like a nature horseback riding, it's just a really cool place. Has a really nice restaurant on premises. And anyway, I rented a 700 square foot cabin, stayed here on that. And I'm a person of faith. So as I'm coming down the hill up with a little rent a car, I heard two things. Your business will sell quickly now. Now keep in mind, I had been trying to sell the business for 3 years, and all the ups and downs of trying to sell a good sized company. And the second one was, I want you to move to Utah. And I was like, move to Utah? Like, and I got looking around. I was like, you know what? Every time I come here, I have a bit of a spiritual experience. And maybe it's just the mountains, because it was just, I don't know. It's a beautiful nature wise. Like, you guys want to come out here? We got Moab, which is like the place that likes Mars. We've got, what do they call it? Angel's Landing. We've got the Sundance. We've got Salt Flats. This is the only place in the world that I know that you can go to 4 different continents in the same state.
Yeah. So I've been to Moab once, to just kind of in and out with a buddy who's from Colorado. We drove to Moab, spent the night, a couple nights, and we were kind of in and out. So I didn't get like the full experience. But one other thing that I did want to, so I was talking with my wife the other day, and this was just on the top of my head. So I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we all lived like we just left a funeral?
Yeah.
Meaning, when you leave, because we unfortunately have a funeral here tonight, and
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but you get so appreciative of when you're when you're at a funeral, when you're at a showing, you love your children more in that moment. You love your spouse more in that moment, and then 2 days later, you're like, "Gosh darn it, kid!" And it's just like, if we could just live like we were just leaving a funeral,
Yeah.
I think, and I've never really heard that before, but I was kind of like mentally preparing for this funeral, and I was like, they kind of wear on me just because I was boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
3 funerals, and I was just like, man, if we could all just live just kind of treat each other like we just left a funeral. You're a lot more in touch with yourself.
Maybe we go full Tim McGraw here and go live like you were dying.
There you go.
Like you got, when it's going to happen. So go do all the stuff but in order to do that stuff, you got to be healthy.
That's
like, you gotta be there. It's like,
full circle.
Dude, loved it, man. We can definitely do this again anytime. Go ahead and rattle off your Instagram handle. We'll put it in the show notes and all that good stuff, but go ahead and let everybody know where to find you.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, Hawk_fit_. Who would have knew that there's so many Hawk fits out there, but it's Hawk_fit_. My website is probably also a really good way to find me, and that's thehawkfit.com.
Dude, Steve, man, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with your guidance and wisdom with us, man. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure we're gonna change some lives.
Got some.
All right, take care.
I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
When clients first come to me or mentees first come to me, number one, it's a mindset conversation because I tell them, listen, whatever you've been thinking has gotten you here. And what has it gotten you? Nothing. So it's literally costing you $1 million not to shift your mindset.